Well, here goes. The ultimate test of all of the skills I've developed from my years at the Wizard Academy. I'm about to face my toughest opponent yet, but I know if I put my faith in my magic wand, I can't possibly lose. Fool! You cannot hope to defeat me! My minions have made sure that you have not the mana to cast a single spell! You cannot hope to overcome me! The orange orifice! He's right! I can't cast a single spell! I'm powerless! Oh. Right, except for my gun. Ah! Ow! But Jesus, you shot me! Why are you allowed to do that? This wizard shit is easy. Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. It feels good to be getting back to my roots, eschewing the playable, proven meta decks for untested, unplayable garbage. On that note, today we're looking at a deck that's about 30% normal monsters. Presenting Magikey.
I cannot wait till the TCG has to censor this.
So here's the list, and yes, I am aware that 3 or 4 formats of Adamancipator and Eldritch back-to-back trained you all to activate your fight or flight when you see an Auroradon, but trust me, we're just using it for ritual garbage. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website everyone is using for their progression series, but you might have also missed that it's got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I use it to post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns. If you want to check it out, give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. So with that, let's make use of the Magikeys. The Magikeys are a series of monsters that use every different summoning type, a totally new and unique characteristic that definitely isn't just repackaged ad ignister. Each of their associated monsters gets benefits based on the more attributes you cycle through in one turn, a totally new and unique characteristic that definitely isn't just repackaged ad ignister. Finally, despite their use of all attributes and all summoning types, there's really only about 3 or 4 cards worth playing, and the rest is grody support you just have to jam to facilitate it. A totally new and unique characteristic that definitely isn't just repackaged ad ignister. Next, let's talk about lore. The monsters are based on oh my god. Jesus. Apparently they are based on a work of demonology called the 72 Pillars of Solomon, or Lemegeton. Huh. Maybe all those 45-year-old housewives in the 90s were right. This shit is satanic as hell. I'm bringing an exorcist to the next YCS. Anyway, like most modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks and this channel, the archetype begins with a blonde twink. Clavis, the 3rd ever Sky Blaster monster, is just your normal, average, everyday kid until one day when he finds a talking gun. Now, this gun isn't just for wisecracks and exercising your God-given Second Amendment rights. No, it's also a combination fusion and ritual spell. This enables a series of innovative, adaptive, skill testing. I'm just kidding, we're making Auroradon every game. Here's the idea. We can use any number of cards to summon Halqifibrax, then go into a 0/0/1 and an Auroradon. From there, we can summon Herald, trigger Auroradon, grab a Coltwing, add a ritual spell, and get off to the races. Ideally, we should be able to end on Fleur, Savage Dragon, and Transfumine with a set unlock. Depending on how our setup looks and where we're interrupted, we can also pivot through Beret, Gara Glasser, Dawn Dragster, and Omega as well. Unfortunately, these lines are very hand-reliant, and they change a lot based on what you draw, so you'll just have to take my word for it that we're playing the cards we're playing for a reason. Finally, as a heads up, you can technically play this as of Dawn of Majesty, but you should really wait until Burst of Destiny. Moth Teal, Transfumine, and Baroness are extremely important for diverse end boards and extension through hand traps. So with that, let's get into the card by card. Unfortunately, our deck begins with 7 normal monsters, and you do have to play all of them. We're on 3 copies of Magikey Skyblaster Clavis. This is important for a significant amount of your cards. 2 Angel Trumpeter. We just want a tuner we can pivot into from a Rescue Rabbit, and it's Earth, which is a pretty unique attribute among the monsters we're playing. We've got a Rice Suship in here as well, and it's not a joke. You need a fire monster in grave a lot of the time, and this is the best fire normal monster. We're also on Driver. Now, normally Driver is a brick, and certainly it sucks to draw in this deck as well, but you can do some really creative stuff with this card, sending it as the cost for something like an advanced ritual art in order to ensure that you are able to not only access it with the Gamma, but also you are able to negate additional things based on the monsters you're summoning. After that, we've got 3 copies of Greater Magikey Maftil. This card is bonkers. It can't be used as material for anything but a Magikey monster, but if you have a Magikey monster, you can reveal him, get an extra normal, and then when this card is normal or specialed, summon a normal monster or a Magikey from your graveyard. A great way to turn an interrupted hand into at least 1 point of interaction. We've got 3 copies of Rescue Rabbit, an extremely strong card, but unfortunately very, very bad against hand traps, which is why we're playing 3 Psi Frame Gear Gamma. After that, we've got some Garnets. Despot 001 and Colt Wing are absolutely mandatory. Karakuri Komachi Model 224 Ninishi is less so, but is pretty important if you are hand-trapped at a couple of very specific instances. It's also an Earth, so you can get Earths into the mix in some weird scenarios. After that, we've got this card, Glarus Gasser. This card is very strong. It gains 300 attack for every different attribute of monster in your graveyard, and when your opponent activates the effect of a monster with the same attribute as a monster in your graveyard, as long as this card was made using 2 attributes of tributes or more, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. It's strong, but difficult to get out. It's got a really weird stat line. A card that doesn't have a weird stat line is this one, Magikey Blaster Betos Buster. This card is bonkers. It is a level 4 ritual monster. It's also a tuner, which is good for, I don't know, maybe like a Halka Fibrax. It's also a machine! So if your Halka Fibrax gets interrupted, but you can still make Betos Buster, you can still make Auroradon. Anyway, you can ritual summon this with Magikey Mafti, but usually we're going to be using advanced ritual art, and if it's ritual summoned, you can add a Magikey card, that is card period, from your deck to your hand. That's a hard once per turn, unfortunately. It's also got an effect that triggers on field, but it doesn't stay on field for long. We've got 3 copies of Magikey Unsealing, and this is usually the card you're adding off of Betos Buster. It's the field spell, and it does everything you could ever want. When it's activated, you add a Magikey from your deck to your hand. The first time a normal monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it's not. And during the main phase, you can add the gun from your deck to your hand, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. In a deck full of Garnets, this is a really important effect to be able to resolve. So we're playing a Terraforming Forward as well. We're on 3 Preparation of Rites for our big shooting boy. 2 copies of Mopte. It's good, but it is also really, really, really searchable. It's not hard to find this card, so 2 is probably all you need. It allows you to fusion a Magikey Fusion monster using monsters from your hand or field, or ritual a Magikey Ritual monster by tributing monsters from your hand or field. Now, if you control a normal monster, one of those materials can be a normal monster from your deck. After that, we've got 2 Advanced Ritual Art and one of this card, High Ritual Art, which is a reverse Advanced Ritual Art. Important to be playing both of these because your hands will brick in different ways. We're on 2 Unexpected Die, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Instant Fusion, and one of this card that is searchable off of the Synchro, Magikey Lock Unlock. It's a negation for spell traps if you control a Magikey monster that's been specialed from the extra deck. Speaking of, in the extra deck, we have Magikey Summon Beast. This is not going to come up often, but it is an Instant Fusion target that has Magikey in its name and is a tuner. We've got Baroness de Fleur, Borreload Savage Dragon, Transfermine, Omega, Bure, 2 copies of Dawn Dragster and 1 Clearwing Fast Dragon. You go into 7s quite frequently. 2 Herald of the Arclight. You've got some setups that use both of them, but far and away, you're probably only cycling through 1. We've got 1 copy of Wiparthu, which is the Xyz monster and probably our best removal option in the deck, alongside Auroradon, Halka Fibrax, and Link Spider. Not only does this link off an Errant Nibiru token, you also sometimes need to use it to get 2 normals out of your hand. So, with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Infernoid. This showcases both the power of this deck's uninterrupted going first board and the strength of the equalizers you can find in the format. We're going to begin with a copy of Unexpected Die, and what we should have done is get a normal monster, then normal summon the 001, but instead we normal summon a Clavis because I want 2 different attributes in the graveyard from the get. We summon the 001 from our hand, which is frustrating, and then we go into Auroradon, getting 3 tokens, and triggering the 001 in the graveyard. From here, we can synchro summon a copy of Herald of the Arclight, and then we can use the effect of Auroradon to pitch these 2 to the graveyard graveyard to summon a copy of Coltwing. We'll trigger the effect of the Coltwing and the effect of Herald of the Arclight in sequence in order to get an advanced ritual art to hand, then summon 2 tokens and the 0/0/1 from graveyard once again. From here, we are going to be able to go into Fleur with everything on our side of the field and fire off the Unsealing. We have saved it for this moment. We'll go into the ritual, then activate the second effect of the Unsealing to get the gun to our hand. We're going to AVR in order to send a copy of Clavis to the graveyard and summon a copy of Betis Buster. We'll activate Betis Buster for Moff Teal, who we will then activate before making Borreload Savage Dragon. We'll equip the Halqifibrax from graveyard, then normal summon the Moff Teal with our extra normal, bring back the Clavis, and then synchro summon a copy of Transfurmine. We're going to use its effect to set the unlock and pass back to our opponent. So that's a ton of negation in a ton of different ways. They're going to begin with a copy of Pot of Extravagance, and we do go for the unlock here, to which they chain the red reboot. Oh, we do not have another trap in our deck. Okay, well, that's going to be set face down. They'll go for the Forbidden Droplet next, pitching 2, and Lightning Storm into this copy of Pankratops. I'm feeling okay because of the Transfurmine. We can force that out early, and then I see the Void Imagination. Really, last card, Void Imagination. They're going to bin 6. They'll go for the Tiara. They'll send 3. We'll send 3, but unfortunately for them, while they have the Entis, we do have an Arclight still in our extra deck, so we can get a Betis Buster for next turn. They'll pop our Auroradon and walk over the Fleur, but we still might be able to do this. This Savage's attack comes back, and we draw off the top of our deck a copy of Rescue Rabbit. We'll use the Omega we sent in order to shuffle back one of the 2 targets for Rescue Rabbit, the second copy of Angel Trumpeter. Then we'll go into both of them and activate the effect of our gun to go into Betis Buster. We'll trigger the effect of Betis Buster in order to add another Moff Teal to hand, whose effect we can still use, and then we'll overlay for a copy of the Xyz. We're going to add this Clavis back to hand, normal summon the Moff Teal, bring back a Clavis, and then, of course, we can go into an Omega of our own. We'll go to the battle phase, trigger the effect of the Xyz to destroy the Tiara, and get in for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Super Quantum, and you would be forgiven for not figuring that out. This is a weird hand from the Super Quant player. Cursed Eyes is actually the individual who pioneered the Super Quantum deck that is shown off in the Super Quant 10-minute testing, so they know what they are doing. The Trias Hierarchica on top of the deck, however, is pretty bad, because the first thing they do is this Pot of Desires. They're going to draw, unfortunately, the payoff for the Trias in deck, the Diviner. They're going to summon a Chusinoko, normal summon the Diviner, send a copy of White Layer, and use its effect to get an Alfan for next turn. Now, our hand looks a little bit bricky, but it can do it. We do have to win right now, because they do have the entire Super Quant line on the crackback, but this Driver might actually accomplish something other than being a Garnet. We're going to begin with a copy of Unexpected Die for a Trumpeter. We just need a tuner. We're going to normal summon a Clavis and activate Moff Teal while we still can before going into Halqifibrax. We'll activate Halq. They're going to chain this Mast, go into Unicorn, and unfortunately on resolution, we'll Unicorn away our 0/0/1. That's not great, but we do have the high ritual art, so we can go into a Betos Buster from deck. Now, this is a machine, so from here we can make an Auroradon. We'll activate the effect of Auroradon. We aren't going to get the 0/0/1, but we still might be able to do something with these tokens. We'll activate it again in order to get a copy of Coltwing, trigger the effect of the Coltwing, and summon 2 more tokens to our side of the field. That's a lot of normals. We're going to go for the Unsealing here in order to get another Betos Buster, then activate the effect of Unsealing, putting back this copy of Driver. We'll activate this Moff Teal in order to ritual summon a copy of Betos Buster, sending a Clavis from deck before going into a Baroness de Fleur. We will summon this copy of Moff Teal with our extra normal, and then use its effect to bring back Betos Buster and go into a Dawn Dragster and the Xyz. We'll activate the Xyz to get a copy of Angel Trumpeter. We'll activate Baroness, but of course this can't be destroyed by card effects. Should not matter. We are getting in for 800, 21, 21, and exact lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Virtual World, and wow, our hand is killer. Rescue Rabbit plus Gamma backup? Alright, we're gonna go for the Rescue Rabbit here, and they're gonna Gamma, and... Oh, they're gonna wait until the Halqifibrax for Gamma, so we can't Gamma their Gamma. That is... not only tricky, it is probably the end of the game. We'll go for a Preparation of Rites for a Betos Buster and pass turn. Our board has been Betos busted. They'll begin with the Pot of Desires. At least we should be able to keep them from killing us. They're going to go for the Lili and then send a bunch of cards to the graveyard before activating the effect of the Qinglong. They'll go for the Lulu. We will Gamma here. They'll Bell, but that keeps the Gamma in our hand. We'll just go for it on the next effect. They'll summon the Lulu, get a copy of Chuche, activate Chuche targeting the Nyan Nyan, and... oh, they're not going to activate another effect. Wow. I mean, this does not happen too often, but I feel like we have been completely outplayed here. They're going to Chuche the Unsealing, and that is all she wrote. Well, that was embarrassing. It's time for game 2, and this hand is fine. It looks a little crusty, but normal summoning the 0/0/1 should fix all of our problems. We're going to begin with a copy of High Ritual Art in order to summon this Betos Buster. We'll trigger the effect of the Betos Buster and add from deck to hand a copy of Unsealing. We'll fire off the Unsealing to get a Moff Teal to hand, then activate Moff Teal for the extra normal summon the 0/0/1, and go into Halqifibrax. That's going to eat a Gamma, which is upsetting, but no big deal. We can then normal summon this copy of Moff Teal to summon back a monster from graveyard, and that eats a Bell. Now, shockingly, I'm not feeling too bad, because if VW ever opens 2 different hand traps, you can bet that they have probably bricked, and what do you know, they have. Okay, we should be able to do it, especially with that top deck. We'll go for an advanced ritual art here in order to summon this Betos Buster, then trigger the Betos Buster in order to get another Mafteal. We'll go ahead and activate that effect, normal summon the Mafteal, use its effect in order to bring back from graveyard a Clavis, and then we will overlay for the Xyz. We'll activate the Xyz in order to get a copy of Clavis to hand, normal summon it, and go to the battle phase. We are 500 off lethal, folks. I should have just been playing a god dang gaga cowboy. We'll go into a Borreload Savage Dragon in main phase 2 and equip it with a copy of Halka Fibrax, passing it back to our opponent. They draw for turn an out to Borreload, but they don't have anything in the graveyard yet. We'll just negate the Lily and they will pass turn. That's VW, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, great. We draw a Garnet and proceed to the battle phase, walking in for lethal. So it's time for that all-important game 3 and... 2 Garnets in the opener. Not exactly where we want to be. No big deal. Our opponent's starting with a normal summoned Lulu, which always means the ceiling is going to be a little lower than you would expect otherwise. They're going to go for the Qinglong off of the Lili and then add a Lao Lao to hand, which they will then activate, targeting the Lili and setting a Xuanwu. From here, they can go into a Zolkin, set this copy of Chuche, activate Zolkin in order to summon a Crystal Winged Dragon, and then use Chuche in graveyard to increase their monster's level by 3. They're going to go into an M7, use M7 to get the Lulu back to hand. Oh, God, and we haven't used the effect of Lulu yet, so we'll go ahead and do that now, targeting the Lili. We're going to send another Qinglong and make a Shen Shen. This is a formidable board, and we draw a 3rd Garnet, son of a bitch. So we're back with the deck, and there's potential here. I don't know if I like the list, however. Let's get into the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's sick. The Aurora Online into Ritual Monsters has always been available, but it's never had a home. The only good Ritual Monsters of the last few years have been the Ritual-in-name-only Megaliths and the xenophobic Drytrons, so it's cool to see an actual Ritual deck make use of it. 2, searching advanced Ritual art is hilarious, and not to mention extremely powerful. There's no flex greater than sending a driver to the graveyard to fulfill a summoning condition. And 3, the end boards this deck is capable of making are super varied, and their points of interaction are often too much for even creative duelists to out. And the cons. 1, it's inconsistent. I mean, you saw that last one. The deck needs to open the right normal monsters for Hauk or resolve a Rescue Rabbit, and neither of those are guaranteed. 2, it's got next to no rebuildability. Most of your setups take up your entire hand, and any build back requires at minimum a ritual and a way to summon it. And 3, no matter how diverse the threats you end on, equalizers these days can deal with it. What are you supposed to do versus Forbidden Droplet, for instance? People are out here prepped to beat Drytron's 6 negates across 2 monsters and 4 cards in hand. They're gonna have no problem with Savage Pass. All in all, it's a sweet archetype, but this list needs some tinkering before it makes it into Tier 1. So that's that. As always, thanks to my patrons Dominic Ernst, Hakuo, AJBYGO, Alex Perea, Andrew Eller, BB Poison, Blue Fanfiction Inc., Brandon Field, Brandon Keys, Colin Miller, Crispy, Dan the Man Hoban, Dubs Rewatcher, Dying Eyes, Frosty, Ikaliba Brot, Jack Sack PhD, King Magic Ruler, Night Mary, Kylie Denton, Major Rusty, Mike Carlotti, Not Witty, Robot, Rocky Hernandez, Rose Lapine, Sarah Routledge, Seeker, Space Condor, Space Standing 1993, Test Subject 213, Adam Trevino, Adrian Bra, Adventure Spence, Afro Ninja 123, Alex Dominguez, Alfred Hendricks, Amaranta V, Andrew Benson, Andrew Ferruia, Andrew Horseman, Apex TCG, Ballin Stalin, Base Madoka, Benjamin Cole Kierman, Billy Williams, Blackacre, Blake Root, Blair, Brandon Peterson, Breaker the Outrage, Brody Colson, Captain Breadbeard, Cash Money Yuki, Chad Bortz, Chad Weatherington, Chase Smith, Chorps Away, CJ Alex, Cole Schulian, Colin Gustafson, Control for the Win, Crystal Red Fox, Daffy Deathclock, Dan Schweer, Danny Guadalupe, Darcy Tevz, Dive Missile, Dogma, Dr. Batman, Distrin, LP Got Band, Sag, Emily V, Emperor Stove, Ernesto Ibarra, Fisker Whiskers, FUTR, Game of Wolf, Gavin K, Griever, Hank Cheesecake, Helios the Helios, Haroof, How to Lose, Jose Mina, Hunter Smith. I have nothing but contempt for this court. Incredibly Slow, Isaac Jackson, Jay Linya, Jason Leonard, Jay Gordon, Jeff Leonard, Jesse Cox, Jonathan Wallace, Jupe, Jose Luis Cortez, Joy John, Julia Chulian, Callie, Kiffin Arshjaway, Corey Hess, Gurukaze, Lake Bayer, Lawrence, Leah Lisblitz, Light Knight, Lottie, Lover Plesse, Lucas Engels, Lucas Geertis, Lucas Arizo Hansen, Major Duncan, Matthew Taylor, Max Merb, Mezzo Emrys, Michael Marks, Michael Oskvarik, Miles Edgelord, Mimes Are Creepy, Miyuna Arashi, Mr. Ease, Nick Extreme 99, Nero Soup, Nitro Skull, Nix Dolores, No Dip Pop, Noom, Omase, One Glad Morning, Austrin, Part 2, Pizer, Picnic Blasted, Precise Bike 13, Pro FB2, Chrono, Raska, Riley Malo, Sam Pinney, Sapphic Ashley, Scrafted, Sean Deal, Sean Flynn, Second Sandoria, Seraphine, Shy, SSJ, Majin Slayer, Standards Objective, Steve McMullen, Swinkles, Tate Rosencutter, The Carl Moxley, The Saucy Pickle, This Machine 237, Thought Auditor, Violet Prison, Why Am I Here, Yordlehi Who, Yuri's Best, and Yuki A. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing. And if you want to be part of the process, consider following me on Twitch as well. See you next time.